So I chose scenario 2 for the budget exercise, and the financial aid office is experiencing a budget shortfall. So after I dealt with the staff salaries, adjusted to reflect the 2% increase for OP and ST staff, and then accommodated the benefits line for each of the positions, compensation is now at about $1.4 million. So at a 2% reduction, that's at approximately $31,502. And so recognizing, positions are people and recognizing that there had been an issue with customer service, a 2% cut, I went ahead and I filled the open position because of the impact on the student service experience. And I chose to cut the budget at 2% in looking at the supplies and equipment line. Usually the university recommends $2,000 to $2,500 for each full-time staff in terms of supplies and equipment. And that's looking at, office supplies and computer and copier and professional development and all of that. Obviously, by cutting that line by $31,000, that's a pretty significant cut. We would have to be a little more careful with office supplies, and we would probably be cutting professional development and travel. And although that cut could negatively impact morale and impact the morale of staff and probably just the professional staff, because usually it's difficult to provide off-campus professional development for OP and ST staff because of the union issues, we could just look at doing professional development a little bit differently in terms of using technology and bringing information to campus instead of having staff travel. The upside of that is I think this cut could positively impact productivity because we're filling the open position. So I think that helps distribute the workload and ultimately increase overall staff morale. In getting to a 5% cut, that is $75,755. That's a significant amount of money, so it's harder to make those cuts just from budget and supplies. So what I did here was I chose to leave the vacant position open. That saves about $51,000 in compensation between salary and benefits. And when you're looking at people and positions, I think it's important to put people before positions, right? So we're protecting staff that are already in place from layoffs by not filling the open position. Obviously, this approach could impact morale because we're not filling a needed position, and it could negatively impact customer service. But hopefully it shows that we care about our staff and that we're choosing not to do layoffs. So that would help, I think, with the morale issue. But in addition to that, we would still need to cut $27,000 from supplies and equipment. In doing these budget exercises, I usually find that it's helpful to bring in staff to get their buy-in. Maybe not the OP and the ST staff, but bringing in the professional staff for sure. And just saying, this is reality. We've got a 5% cut, and here are the choices. And in doing that, and arguing that we want to protect staff that are already in place, I think we could get to the 5%, even though there would still be an impact on morale. When we get to the 10% level, we're talking about approximately $157,000. And so when you get to 10%, that usually calls for an organization to really look at structure and makeup. And I would say, if we're looking at a university like CMU, we're already a pretty lean operation. So when you get to 10%, we are talking about layoffs. Now, I'm looking at this budget as an outsider, but it looks like the structure could be a little top-heavy. Out of 21 staff, 8 individuals are at the assistant director level or higher. So 8 individuals are assistant directors, an associate director, or the director. So I took some creative liberty here. And again, we do try to put people before positions. And I'm looking at the variance of salaries amongst the assistant directors, wondering if there's an opportunity for potentially early retirement. It looked like some of the assistant directors were at higher salary levels, so perhaps they were further along in their career. If we could reduce the staff by one assistant director using early retirement, that could save about $72,000 between salary and benefits. And again, that's taking some creative liberties, assuming that we could look at early retirement and doing some restructure amongst the assistant directors. Because really, you've got a small amount of staff reporting to a large number of assistant directors, and I'm wondering if a reorg to get some more efficiency would be possible. When you're cutting 10%, you have to look at how an operation is structured. At 10%, I think that would also cause us to leave the vacant position open. Again, that saves about $51,000 between compensation or between salary and benefits. And we would still have to reduce the supplies and equipment line by $33,000, almost $33,300. But again, with smaller amounts of people, that line could come down. And again, I think when you're doing budget exercises at 2, 5, and 10, you try to create some transparency with the team in having folks share in those conversations without causing conflict or without causing fear. It's a fine art as a leader in tough times, being able to articulate that the sky is not falling, but that we have to look at how we're doing business. Either we work smarter or we're going to be out of jobs ourselves. So that is my proposal for cutting 2, 5, and 10%.